Hey everybody, Matt Covey from Suburban Canine. Today I'm going to show you the spot-on dog collar. What I'm going to do is I already opened it up. I'm not going to waste your time with an unboxing, but I do want to show you my initial impressions of this thing. And I guess first, let me tell you, I've got, collar here and I'll show you all this stuff, but this is like a dog trainer's dream, this type of collar, not necessarily this brand. I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. But years ago, probably about 10 years ago, my partner and I, we were used to install invisible fences. We had a division of our company that did that and, bury the lines and all of that. And they were fine, but it wasn't our passion. We always wanted to see like a GPS version. So we met with a few companies back in 2015, 2016, 2017, and we thought about partnering with them, and we were going to provide the dog training expertise. They were going to provide the tech expertise. And we looked into a few, and to be honest, they were just kind of crap. And I don't say that in a mean way. I couldn't create the technology. And so we passed on all of them because they were just so far from being ready. They were clunky, they were big, they looked cheap. And I knew I wasn't the person to get them like across the finish line. I don't know anything about the technology part of it. I could only help with the dog training. So we kind of forgot about that and abandoned it completely. And then finally, time went on and nicer collars came out, which I absolutely love. Like I said, I'm not affiliated with Spot On. Now, I do have a promo code, so if you want one, if you're going to buy one, definitely take a look in our description. We can save you some money. But I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about this today. First off, like I said, I don't know if you like unboxing videos. I think they're weird, but I think this box, it's worth looking at that it's nice. And you could put a crappy product in a nice box, but how many times in your life have you seen that, right? Like, when do you see a nice, well-built package that has nice instructions with it and all this stuff, and then find the product is a piece of crap? And I can tell you, that's never happened to me. Usually you get it and you're like, they saved some money here, and you realize it's not a great product. So I was impressed just when I opened it. The collar itself, when you look at this, people often ask me a couple questions. One, how does it stop the dog? What is the correction level like? And I'm going to test that today. I'm going to put it on and we'll see. And they also just ask, what does it feel like? Is it big and is it clunky? And so here, I thought it'd be helpful for you to see it. This is for a medium-sized dog, and I don't consider this to be clunky. Now, yes, this is bigger than if you use a dog e-collar on your dog. You could look at that and say, well, the e-collar is more like that, and this has two of these. This does a lot of stuff an e-collar doesn't, right? It has GPS built into it to track. Makes a noise, vibration, and a static correction. It can pick up on cellular. This does a lot of stuff. So when I look at this, I don't know, I expected it to be clunkier. So I actually like this size. I'm impressed with it. It'd be cool if it was smaller, but I'd rather it be this size and work than smaller and, be junky. Overall, the strap feels really nice. It's like a nice rubber. I can see how this would hold up well, getting wet and, being out in the rain. I don't see any obvious places where water would get in. The charging, you see these two little things here. The charger looks like this, and this just kind of sits in there. And then you can see, let me orient to the camera, there's metal in there that this makes contact with, and that's how it charges. So I don't see any obvious places where water would get in this, which tells me I think it would last quite a while. Now, setting it up. I already did this on the app, and if you want me to walk you through it, let me know, and I'll do a future video. This part is very simple. The training is going to be kind of the meat and potatoes of a following video, but when you go to set it up, it's amazing what they do. So here's the app. I just, went into the kind of main screen. Let me turn my brightness down so it doesn't reflect as much. But if I were to go and I click on fences, what it's going to do, I created one called Test Fence. And you can see it just shows there's a GPS around a property there, right? And you can see it has 4 corners. And what you do is you just drag those around however you want. So if I wanted to edit this, I'd click Edit. And now you can see there's white dots at each corner. And if you go to edit this and you say, okay, well, I don't know, it looks a little bit close to the road there. I'm worried about that. I want that close, farther into the yard. I don't want my dog to get that close to the road. Well, you drag it, and I just moved it over a hair. And then you might say, well, what about this back zone? I wish the dog could go farther back. Well, grab each corner and drag them. And this is so simple. You do a hard press on the dot and you move it over. So now it's a lot bigger. If you want it smaller again, you can just do that. Now, important to know that all I'm doing right now is changing this on the app. So if I say I push save changes, it's going to pop up and say, congratulations, you need to load this to the collar. And it tells you that because the collar doesn't know it was changed. You have to change the collar. I'm going to say later because I don't really care right now. But whenever you mess with this, you have to send it to the collar because the collar needs to know where the new boundary is. Even more important, you have to tell the dog, right? The dog's going to have no idea. So you need to, I would not suggest changing this constantly. You figure out what works, you dial it in during the training process, and then you keep it the same. Now, what I want to do is I want to check the static correction level on this thing. And I get a lot of questions where people say, do you need to use the static correction level? What is it like? Or the Stim level? It's the same thing. And my answer is you're probably going to need to use it. If your dog would stay in the yard just from a beep, you probably wouldn't need this collar, right? If your dog just doesn't leave, well, then you don't need this collar. Or you could, people do boundary work. They put flags around their yard. The dog goes to cross it. They tell them no. The dog stops and never goes past it again. That's not most dogs. Most dogs are going to want, if they're distracted, they're going to go through it. They're not going to care or think in the moment that, oh yeah, I was told not to go through here. You need some, kind of some consequence for them, right? And that's where the Stim level comes in. So I'm going to try it on myself here. One thing I like to tell people with the Stim level is an e-collar is like words, meaning you can't hurt physically with an e-collar, but you can hurt mentally. And that's a big distinction. You can hurt physically with any other collar. A cloth collar, you can hurt a dog physically. You have a cloth collar on, dog is running, you tighten up on it, it puts all the pressure there, you could hurt them. An e-collar or a Stim level on any collar, you push the button, you cannot hurt them physically. It doesn't have that kind of power. It can't electrocute the dog or burn them. It's just not a thing. But could you terrify them? Yeah, absolutely you could. So you can scare a dog with an e-collar, and that's a real worry. And I would make the case terrifying a dog is probably worse than hurting them physically. So I'm not saying be cavalier with Stim levels. I'm not cavalier with them at all. I spend a lot of time finding the right level for a dog. But my point is you're not going to hurt your dog with this, but you, of course, could scare them. So what I'm going to do is now I'm on the fence still. I'm going to go to dogs. And I'm just going to push that button on the app. And now go to collar settings, and it takes me here. On collar settings, you can see the static level is off. So I'm going to put it on. And now this pops up. So I've got this little bar from 0 to 30. So I'm going to put it at 1. And you can see right now it's on vibration and static level. So if I push the test correction level, you can probably hear that vibrating. I'm going to turn off the vibration because at a very low level, the vibration is going to be more intense than the static. So when you do this, you need to make sure you're making good contact with both sides. If you put kind of one on your arm, nothing's going to happen. Or if you're not making good contact, which is a problem, you're going to feel nothing, and then you're going to shift it and be like, whoa, when all of a sudden you get really good contact. So you need to be pressing down snug because that's how a collar should be fitted on a dog. So what I'm going to do is test these correction levels. So I've got it kind of wedged down on my arm here, and I want it nice and snug. I'm going to test a 1. So I feel the barest, if I'm pushing really hard, I can feel something. But if I'm pushing medium, I don't feel a thing. 2, I'm starting to feel a little bit. So, and I just have my arm like this. You can try at different spots, which I do recommend. Here, I could kind of wedge it, between my arm and my body, and I want to test a 2. So now, yep, still feeling a 2. 3. 3 feels like not as much as a pinch. So if you've ever been to a chiropractor and had a TENS unit, the 3 is barely the TENS unit is on, but it's not really doing much yet. 4, I can feel. So now I can try on the top of my arm here, and I'm going to put it on a little bit looser, and I just want to see. Yeah, so when it's making contact now, but it's I see myself in the screen. I'm making I'm sitting so weird. But it's much less intense. And that's important for you to realize because when you put it on your dog, if you've been testing it loose on your arm and then you crank it down when you put it on the dog's neck and it's tight, it's going to feel completely different. Okay. So now I want to check 6. I can feel pretty noticeable. Woo! 8 I can feel. And okay. So, 10 is I'd say pretty intense. I'm at 10 out of 30. So I like that. And what I mean by that is I like that it's very adjustable. It's got 30 levels. and it also can go high enough to work for each particular dog. One of my worries was that like the PC police were gonna have like watered this down to be like, it can't give a real correction, and it was gonna be like this very minor correction, even the highest level, and then be useless, and my clients were gonna buy this collar and it wasn't gonna work for their dog. I like that that hasn't happened. So the 10 was intense. I can't imagine what 30 would be. It'd be very intense. When I train a dog, if I use an e-collar, I like dog trail collars, and they're not a competitor. It's a whole different thing. An e-collar is generally not GPS based. It's just, for training. So when I use a dog trail, they go from 0 to 127. This 10, I would compare to like, I don't know, a 40 maybe. So this seems like maybe about the same level at the top output, kind of like a dog trip would be at 127. It's very rare, like extremely rare, that I'm at a 40. With most dog trick collars, I'm at like a 15, 20 working level. So I would think for the average dog, you're probably going to be at like 5, 8, somewhere in that area with this, but it depends on your dog. And you're going to figure it out through training, what the right level for your dog is. If you have a German Shepherd with a prey drive and they're like blasting, trying to blast through the fence to chase a squirrel, it's going to need to be higher than if you have like just a distractible golden who's just like, oh, what was that over there? And is just casually walking off. You'll need a different level. And it also comes down to fit. So they have 2 sets of points. There's another one in the box that I put the longer ones on. If it's not cutting all the way through a dog, and I say cutting, I mean like sticking all the way through a dog's fur, if it doesn't do that, it's not going to make good contact and it's not going to work. It either won't work at all or it's going to work and it's going to be sporadic. That's a problem. That's when you end up getting too high of a working level, which is not good. So make sure this is getting good contact on your dog. I would use these longer ones pretty much on any dog. I just think generally speaking, they work better and it just allows it to get better fit. So overall, I like this collar so far, but what I really want to test next is the GPS, but build quality seems good. I like the correction level, how adjustable it is and that it can go up if needed. And I like the app. Right now, the app seems really foolproof, which is pretty cool. And it's a nice app. It doesn't feel cheap and buggy in the slightest. It feels really nice. Let me know what you want to know about the training process. And the reason I say that is I've trained dogs on electronic, like buried fences, like invisible fence type things. I've trained a lot of dogs on boundaries with e-collars, boundaries with long lines. I've done this a lot I've been training dogs since 2006. And there's a lot of different methods out there. And maybe you're new to this, or maybe you're trying to use another method and apply it to this. I want to know what you're thinking, because when I make that next video, I want to make sure I'm answering the questions everybody has. Let me know how I can make it the best video for you. And I will fully train a dog on one of these collars and let you know what I think. Thanks for watching.